everyone? Can you hear me? Yes? Okay, fantastic. I can see that some of you, yes, okay, are already here. Excellent. So, sorry for the pause. We needed to check our equipment, and I think everything is working now. So, let's rock and roll. You could see the topic of our seminar. What is CELTA? Okay, and this is the first question that I want to ask you. What is Cambridge CELTA? What does it stand for? Okay, I'll try to be a bit louder. Okay, is it okay now? Can you hear me? All right, thank you. So, what is Cambridge CELTA? What does Cambridge CELTA stands for? Any ideas? You can type in it in the chat. Okay. For teaching abroad, somebody says. Okay, right. Well, this is what it is. It's a certificate in teaching English to speakers of other languages. Although the abbreviation has some other letters, TA, teaching adults. It was at the beginning, teaching adults. Now they make it wider, just teaching English to speakers of other languages. In fact, this is the most widely recognized initial teaching qualification or certificate for those interested in teaching English around the world. As you said, yes, teaching abroad. Okay, I'll try to be louder. Okay. It is also an excellent opportunity for those with teaching experience to develop professionally. I've actually highlighted the things that are the most important in this definition. So it's widely recognized. It's a teaching certificate. Around the world, you can teach English around the world, and it's an opportunity to develop professionally. We're going to go step by step, like how widely recognized. Is it true? Is it really about teaching? Does it give you an opportunity to teach around the world? And does it develop you professionally? Let's have a look. So at the beginning, I want you to look at these numbers. These numbers might mean nothing to you at the moment, but they are somehow related to CELTA. What do you think? What are your guesses? What could it be? Something about CELTA around the world. What do you think? Any ideas? Please type it up in the chat. Anybody? What, 70, for example, 70 number of centers I can see. Okay, good guess. Anything else? Okay, age of adult students, I like it. 360 countries. Okay, well, you basically get some of these. Okay, this is how many people take it worldwide. Okay, very similar answers. Look, this is the map on the right, and you could see the number of CELTA courses that are run around the world every year. You see, quite an impressive number. 360 is actually CELTA centers because some countries have more than one. Okay, and 70 countries. This is how many countries really run CELTA courses. So it is a widely recognized teaching qualification, and you could take the CELTA around the world, and it's recognized there. One number is missing, number 12, but we'll get back to it later, okay? So, this is what 12 is. It's actually somehow relevant to our center, the center that I represent in Moscow, BKC International House. You could see that we as a center run 12 CELTA courses a year. So basically every month we run a CELTA course, and sometimes we run parallel CELTA courses. 150 happy graduates a year. This is how many people graduate and get their certificates at the end of the CELTA course in our center. This picture shows a cake, you know. This cake was made, or ordered maybe, by our CELTA graduates. You could see BKC-IH CELTA 2016, and it is designed as one of the key books for CELTA learning teaching by Jim Scrivener. So yummy, it was very good. All right. I said that it's a widely recognized certificate. Is it really true? Who recognizes CELTA? Well, CELTA is recognized by private language schools mostly. So this is the most common career path for CELTA graduates. They get a job in a private language school, such as BKC, for example, or many others. In some schools, it's a necessary requirement for employment. The voluntary sector or the private sector. Very often when you have a private student one-to-one, the students ask you about your certificate and what kind of qualification you have. CELTA is a very good one to show because it's really a reputable one. Also, different non-governmental organizations around the world recognize CELTA. Publishers, if you want to publish your material or publish in a magazine or a journal, the CELTA qualification it actually shows that you are a professional English teacher and you know something about communicative language teaching. And I put other educational institutions just vaguely because you know, there might be others who recognize CELTA. I know that recently the state schools in Russia started recognizing CELTA at least as a means of professional development, as a professional development activity, opportunity. So many educational institutions like universities and state schools in Russia send their teachers to do CELTA because they think it's really helpful. Okay. If you remember the initial definition, it says CELTA is an initial teaching qualification. What does that mean? Is CELTA for novices? So just for new teachers? What do you think? Is it true that you can do the CELTA without any teaching experience, without any prior teaching experience? Yes or no? Okay, I can see no, no, no. True. Okay, most of you, but more people more people say yes. Well, in fact, this is true that CELTA gives you the training you need to become an English language teacher. So, if you're not sure about it, Vera, for example, is not sure, you don't have to be an English teacher to apply for the CELTA and to do the CELTA. You can have a different career or a different degree, for example, in economics, in biology, whatever. You can be a taxi driver in your other life and decide that you would like to become a teacher. Yes, CELTA is for those who have never taught before. We'll talk about the level of English a bit later, Svetlana. So this is one of the testimonials from a CELTA trainee who hadn't had any previous teacher experience. And they did the CELTA, and this is what they feel at the end of the CELTA. I came with no teaching experience, and now I feel capable and confident as a new teacher. Okay, so if it is for those who are not teachers yet, is it true that CELTA is suitable for teachers with experience? What do you think? Yes or no? Yes? Sure? Okay, so most of you think the answer is yes. And you're absolutely right. How come? Well, for experienced teachers, CELTA revises or it helps you to revise and organize your knowledge of methodology. You might have some knowledge after doing some other trainings or after your just teaching experience. Okay? Adopt a more communicative approach. Okay? Which means, sorry, what do you mean by no echo? Did it start echoing? No? Okay, that's fine. Right. So adopt a more communicative approach. What does that mean? Sometimes people after pedagogic university, after teaching in a state school or university in Russia or other countries, they know how to teach, but they teach in a more traditional way. Without much communication involved in or student-centered approaches involved in their teaching. CELTA helps you to shift your focus. This is why I'm saying that it is suitable for more experienced teachers. Also, it helps you to sharpen your teaching practice. It's a highly practical course. You can see in the picture this guy. He's a teacher, a CELTA teacher, and he's teaching real students in the classroom. And this is what CELTA gives you, an opportunity to sharpen your teaching experience. And to prove your ability, if you're excellent at presenting language, at giving students good language challenge, you can prove it and get an internationally recognized certificate for that. Some people do CELTA because they want to get promoted or they want to have a better teaching position in their institution. Some institutions require that. So you can't become a senior teacher or a director of studies if you don't have the CELTA. Okay? Or you can't become a teacher trainer in your language school if you don't have a CELTA. And this is another reason why people might want to do the CELTA, although they are already qualified teachers. So, this is another testimonial from a teacher who entered the CELTA with some experience, and this is what they said. An extremely useful course, especially for those who know English, love teaching, but aren't very clear with methodology. So this person is basically is one of those who had some prior teaching experience. I have a question here from Nick. Should we take TKT first? It's not a requirement at all, but many people do take TKT first because they see it as a stepping stone towards CELTA. It's really helpful. Okay, let's put it this way, but it's not a requirement. Svetlana is absolutely right. It's not needed, but it's really, really helpful. Okay, let's move on. We've now established that CELTA is for both experienced teachers and novice teachers. But how come? How can one course cater for the needs of such different groups of teachers? We're going to find out how. I'll tell you how the course program is differentiated. But before that, we need to understand what the course program includes. This is our next point, the CELTA syllabus. Okay, there are 5 main topics which are part of your CELTA course. Learners and teachers and the teaching and learning context. So the awareness of learners, the awareness of teacher roles, and so on, and different contexts. Language analysis and awareness. Of course, as a language teacher, you need to be able to analyze language. And CELTA helps you to find out how to analyze language for pedagogical purposes. Not as a linguist, not as a, at a theoretical level, but for your students so that it's clear what language is all about for your students of different levels. Also, it has a topic of teaching skills. Reading, speaking, listening, writing. These are the language skills that we develop in class. And CELTA gives you methodology of how to help students develop these skills in the best way, in the most effective ways. And also planning and resources for different contexts. Without planning, lessons don't happen. So it's important. And finally, probably the most important thing and what distinguishes CELTA from many other qualifications is developing teaching skills and professionalism. Developing teaching skills, you are learning by doing. You're learning how to teach by teaching. It's a highly practical course, unlike many others, which might give you some theoretical knowledge, but not necessarily give you an opportunity to practice teaching. Okay, this is what Cambridge says. It's actually, it's a quote from the Cambridge curriculum. But what does it mean in practice? What does CELTA give you? So if we translate it, let's say, from the dry Cambridge language into normal language, all right, so that it's understandable for everybody. It gives you the principles of effective teaching. So basically how to teach effectively. This group of students, other group of students, different level of students, different types of lesson. Okay? Yes, I agree, Svetlana. Practical, yes, innovative principles. This is exactly where I'm leading you. The variety of approaches and methods. And again, this is a way to differentiate the CELTA. For novice teachers, probably some basic approaches might be new and they might be practicing how to use them effectively. For others, they would probably want to know something more advanced, more complex, a deeper knowledge of approaches and methods. That's why CELTA gives you the variety of approaches and methods. And you can choose according to your taste, according to the needs of your students, according to the context where you teach. Choose the best one. A range of practical skills and also hands-on teaching experience. I've said that before, but I'm never tired to repeat that. It's a highly practical course. Different techniques like how to do this little activity, how to help students with pronunciation, how to drill pronunciation, how to check their knowledge, whatever. So different bits and pieces, how to play this game, how to make this activity more fun or more engaging. Uh, in brackets, I have a testimonial from one of our CELTA graduates. They were talking about teaching experience. They say, oh, it was scary at first, but extremely helpful in gaining experience and confidence and putting into practice what we were learning. There is no better way to learn than to actually do it, which I agree with. Yeah, strongly agree. It also gives you an opportunity to self-reflect. As teachers, we do reflect on our practice, but CELTA gives you a systematized approach to self-reflection. CELTA teaches you how to reflect in a systematic and also focused way. And this is where your tutors help. Okay? My last point on this slide is you get experienced tutors' feedback. And from my experience, teachers appreciate it the most from the CELTA. They say, very helpful feedback. The tutor could see the things that I wasn't able to see myself, which is often true. That's why you need this supervision from experienced tutors. Okay, this is what CELTA gives you. Hello, Irina. I can see somebody joined in. Right. Entry requirements. In order to enter the CELTA course, it's not enough just to say, oh, great, sounds great. I want to do CELTA tomorrow. No, that's not enough. You need to meet certain entry requirements. And here there are 4 key ones. I want you to guess what the age of CELTA trainees do we expect? What language level do we expect? What else? What is L, A, and what is M? So I'm waiting for your responses. I can see 18 plus for the age, I suppose. Somebody, C1 for the level, I think. Male, okay. LA, language awareness, well done. C1, C2 for the level, good. What does M stand for? Apart from male, maybe. Money, okay, I like that. I can imagine it in the Cambridge CELTA handbook. A requirement, money. Yeah, it's not free, you know that, but M stands for something else. Nobody has guessed it yet. Motivation. Well done, Natalia. Excellent. Okay, let's have a look. Entry requirements. Age, you're right, 18 plus, but general recommended age is 20 plus. Okay. Language level C2 or high C1. If you're familiar with, yes, level advanced, exactly. If you're familiar with the European framework of levels, you know what I'm talking about. So C1 is advanced, and it's probably equivalent to CAE B or A, and C1 is equivalent to proficiency CPE. Of course, there are IELTS equivalents or TOEFL equivalents, but this is the general level. It's not something that is optional, and it's not something that is a requirement in one center, but not a requirement in another center or another country. No, it is a Cambridge requirement. Appropriate level of language awareness, you were absolutely right, LA, language awareness, and M stands for motivation. I included motivation here because we do check whether the person who wants to do the CELTA understands what exactly they are going to get and have correct expectations. Because sometimes people think that CELTA is a language course, and they say, okay, I want to do CELTA because I want to improve my level of English. No, it's not about that. Okay, it's about becoming a teacher or continuing to be the teacher. Yeah. Do we have to confirm your level by any certificate? That's a very good question, Narine. If you have a certificate, for example, CAE or CPE, IELTS or TOEFL, you can, and if it's fresh, like 2 years old or more recent, you can actually submit it and say, okay, this is my level of English. If you don't have it, we don't require that you take this exam because it might be expensive and too long. You might still have this level of English. Why should we do that? We do give you a test. It's our internal test. It's absolutely free. You can come to our center and do the test. If you pass the test, that shows that your level of English is C1 or C2, you can be allowed to do the course. Okay? Right. Okay. Imagine you've been accepted for the CELTA course. You have the right motivation. You have the appropriate language awareness level, and language level is also good, suitable, and you are 18 plus. Then, what does the CELTA include? Okay. The CELTA includes 120 contact hours. What does it mean, contact hours? The contact is, it's between you and the trainers, between the trainers and groups of trainees. This might happen during the input seminars. We have around 20 input seminar sessions, usually 2 seminar sessions a day. It's also lesson planning. Lesson planning is another way to differentiate CELTA because the tutor is planning the lessons with you, not for you, of course, but with you. They help you to plan the lesson. It's one-to-one or sometimes mini groups, and it is very, very, very individualized because you have your lesson, your language point, or your material to teach. You have your students and your teaching style. And the teacher, the tutor helps you to make the most out of your resources, to plan your lesson. So this is it's a very individualized process. Also feedback, okay? Feedback happens either one-to-one or as a group session because people can contribute to this feedback. Your peers who observed your lesson, they can contribute to this feedback, and you can learn from each other, not only from the tutor. Feedback happens after each lesson you teach on the CELTA. Either on the same day or on the next day, you get the feedback from the tutors. Also, you get written feedback from the tutors. The oral feedback is a discussion type, and written feedback is a form where you can see, aha, this is what I've achieved, this is where I've made progress in, and this is something that I need to work on, some areas that I need to improve even further. Okay, this is what you get after each lesson that you teach. And also you have one-to-one tutorials with a tutor, which means that you can discuss your progress, you can discuss the strategies, how to make your classes even better, how to improve your performance, and how to cope with difficulties, perhaps, if you have any. Okay, this is what the CELTA course includes. In fact, it says 120 hours. When I counted our program and think how many hours do we really give, and it's actually more than 120 hours. But all right, so this is the requirement, at least 120 hours. Okay, you also have to complete 6 assessed teaching hours. Teaching hours, a 60-minute lesson, 60-minute 60-minute hours, okay? But it doesn't mean that you have to teach only 6 lessons. Sometimes the lessons are shorter. In our center, for example, we have 45-minute lessons. And if you do your maths very quickly, how many teaching lessons, teaching attempts do you have? Can anybody calculate? 45-minute lessons, 6 hours, should be. So in fact, it's 8. In fact, it's 8. It is 45 minutes, right? But could be 9. Could be 9 if your lessons are 40 minutes and some lessons are shorter, 20 minutes, and some lessons are longer, 60 minutes. So again, teaching practice can be organized differently in different CELTA centers. In our center, I will repeat, it's 45-minute lessons, and there are altogether 8 lessons. Right? You also have to complete 6 hours of experienced teacher observations. You very often observe your trainers teach. In our center, we teach, and our trainees look at us, learn from us, criticize us sometimes, okay? But they can see how their trainers can teach. It can also be video observations, DVDs, that we provide. And sometimes there could be teachers who are not part of the teacher training department, who are not CELTA trainers, but they are qualified teachers and they're experienced teachers who can show you a very good example. So part of this is, as I said, live observations, and part of it can be video observations. I can see questions from Helena. Teaching hours. Do trainees teach other trainees at your center? No. And it's not only in my center or in our center. Trainees teach real students. Real students who are tested to be a certain level, for example, pre-intermediate students or upper intermediate students or elementary students. They are real students. They are not your peers. They are not other teachers. So it's real teaching practice. Okay? Thank you. Thank you for your question. And also, you complete peer observation. Again, a little bit of maths. If you teach only 8 times or 9 times on the CELTA course, what do you do for the rest of the teaching practice? Do you go home? Do you relax? Do you do something else? No, in fact, you observe others teach. And others are your peers. They are people from your group. So when you're not teaching yourself, you're observing others teach. It's an invaluable experience because you are learning from different sources, including your peers. Sometimes you can borrow something excellent from what your colleague does, and then you can use it in your lesson. You have an opportunity to discuss what your colleagues do at the feedback. That's why peer observation is it's a must on the CELTA course, and this is a really, really good idea. Okay. And finally, you have to submit some written work. Sometimes people ask, what about writing? Yes, we have 4 written assignments. A bit later, I will show you the topics for written assignments. So all that is the course program. When you've completed all that satisfactorily, you get your certificate. Okay. This is a typical CELTA day. I'll give you a minute to read. Okay, right. As you can see, the teaching practice in Moscow, in BKC Moscow, happens. Where's Dina? Good question, Nick. Waiting for you after the teaching practice. It's late dinner usually. Yes. So teaching practice is in the evening. It's not because we love working in the evening. It's just because our students love studying in the evening. Do you remember I told you that these are real students? They are not guinea pigs. They are not like dummy students. They are real students, and usually they come to learn. They come to our center to learn English in the evening after work, after their studies, after their long day, basically of doing something what they are doing. Okay, you could see 2 input sessions. This is what I was talking about previously. It's about different topics like how to teach vocabulary, error correction, how to teach speaking or listening, how to increase communication, how to plan lessons, and so on and so forth. Depending on the stage of the course, you have different input sessions. Lesson preparation happens usually at the beginning of the day when everybody is still fresh. And as I said before, lesson preparation happens under supervision of CELTA trainers. So it's not individual self-preparation. Trainers actually guide you through lesson preparation. What's the period of studying? Month, 3 months, a year? Okay, good question, Natalia. I will answer this question a bit later because there are different programs. There could be a part-time program and a full-time program, and depending on what you choose, you can study either for a shorter period of time but more intensively, or longer period of time less intensively. I'll show you the difference between part-time and full-time CELTA a bit later. Okay, so you're looking at the timetable, right? Different sessions during the day, quite a variety, lunch included, as you see. Now I'm going to show you a picture. And I wanted to guess what part of the CELTA day this picture shows. Okay, ready? Here's the picture. Any ideas? You can type up. Lesson planning? Good. Any other ideas? Lesson planning too? Feedback? Well, in fact, it could be anything. I mean, it could be either lesson planning or feedback session or group work or input session. Yes, you're absolutely right. To be honest, this particular one, I think, is a lesson planning session. This picture was taken when the teachers were planning a lesson, discussing their lessons together. But you're absolutely right. It could be part of the input session because our input sessions are interactive and trainees collaborate. It's not a lecture style. They collaborate, they work in groups, they work in pairs, they discuss something. So that could be an input session. Could be a feedback session. Again, during the feedback, the peers' opinions and evaluation count. That's why it might be the stage of the feedback session when the peers think about the lesson or reflect on the lesson of each other. So it could be feedback. But from the interaction pattern, from the mode of interaction, you could see that it is very interactive and people cooperate with each other. There is no competition on the CELTA course, you know, no competition. Everybody could be a star, everybody could be excellent and superstars. You only compete with yourself. So that's why people usually help and support each other a lot. It's a great atmosphere on courses. Okay, I promised to tell you a little bit about written assignments. Sometimes people ask about that, like what do we need to write? These are the Cambridge written assignment titles, okay? Focus on the learner, of course. It's a teacher training environment. We need to focus on the learner, and one of our assignments actually is devoted to the focus on the learner. Language-related tasks. We are language teachers, okay? So obviously we need to be able to analyze language, but as I said earlier, for pedagogical purposes. Not as linguists, not as dictionary writers, not as grammarians, but as teachers, to make it clear and available, accessible for our students. Language skills related tasks. This is my personal favorite because we ask the students to, the trainees to design a lesson around a piece of authentic material. It's a text usually, okay, or a video. It can be a video, a text, a piece of audio. So you design a lesson and then you justify why this lesson is useful for your students. And this is actually a platform for lots of creativity. People sometimes design amazing lessons, really. I love reading this assignment. And also lessons from the classroom. It's a reflective piece of writing. So you need to reflect on where you've made progress in, what exactly you still have difficulties with, and what action plan you can suggest for yourself after CELTA. Because completing the CELTA is not the end of our long teaching career, of course not. We have to solidify that, right, later, and we have to keep practicing our skills. There is a question here from Anna. Is it possible to fail CELTA? Yes, it is. It's a pass-fail certificate. I will show you the overall grades a bit later when we talk about assessment, but to answer the question briefly, yes. Yes. Okay. Right. Talking about written work, who do you think these people are? Are they trainees? Are they trainers? Are they administrators, perhaps? Are they students on the course? Any ideas? No ideas? Students? Trainers? Trainees? Trainers? Students? Okay. They are trainers, okay? These are two of our trainers. We have quite a few. We have altogether 8 or 9 trainers working on CELTAs. And what do you think the time is? What month, what year do you think the picture was taken in? Russian football fans? Yeah, they're special guests. Recently. It is, yeah, it is quite recent. Spring, June, July 2018. And you probably know why. Look at the colors, look at the little football here, and a scarf and everything. Yes, this was our recent CELTA June, July World Cup. You're right, Elena, World Cup. And you could see that these are our trainers and they're having fun, not only running the CELTA course, not only carrying the portfolios, you could see, with lots of written work there, but also enjoying it and celebrating the World Cup as all others did at this time of year. Okay, it's just a little bit of fun on the CELTA so that you realize that CELTA is not only hard work, there's lots of fun happening there. Okay, and I will continue the topic of fun and other things on CELTA. There is a list. Do you think CELTA includes this? Collaboration, fun, networking, tears, stress, support, lack of sleep, sense of achievement, creativity. Which of these do you think CELTA necessarily includes? Like it's a must on the CELTA. All. All of these. Hopefully no tears. No tears, no stress, no lack of sleep. All of these, yeah, all. I would agree with the majority of you. It's actually all. Tears are optional, all right? You don't have to show your tears in order to pass the course, but sometimes it happens, and sometimes they're tears of joy when you manage to do something, you achieved something. That's why the sense of achievement is probably the best feeling on the CELTA. Lack of sleep should be, yeah, to be honest, many people complain about that at some parts of the course, not every day, of course, but sometimes you have to do a lot of work, and yeah, you might experience that. All right. To prove that CELTA includes all of that, I'll show you the picture again, okay? Have a look. I think it's obvious that CELTA has some stress. Look at these people. Some fun, a lot of collaboration and teamwork. Yes. No tears. I can't see any tears, but maybe in the past. It's just a funny picture. We like that. We like to take these pictures in the middle of the course or at the end of the course. I think this one was taken at the end of the course. Yes, thank you, Svetlana. I like this picture too. Um, people that definitely experience some achievement, and they're very happy, which is great. Oh, really? Natalia is saying that one of these people was her teacher at university. You see, it proves that university teachers and experienced teachers do the CELTA and and have a lot of fun with fair hair. Okay, okay, excellent. Right. I promised. Yes, very positive atmosphere. You're absolutely right. I promised to show you different modes of CELTA. It can be full-time CELTA, and the full-time CELTA lasts 4 weeks normally. It requires full-time commitment. What does that mean? That means that literally you don't have time to do anything else. Sometimes you don't have time to sleep or have dinner, okay? But definitely no time to continue working, teaching your students, trying to do something, to achieve something big in your family. I don't know, having a renovation in your flat. I wouldn't recommend that during this 4-week period. And for the full-time CELTA, the feedback on your lessons is usually delayed. It usually happens on the next day after you've taught. We'll talk about advantages or disadvantages of that. And the part-time CELTA. In our center, it lasts 10 weeks. What does that mean? Okay, just a question from Vera. Is it 7 days a week? The full-time CELTA, it's 5 days a week. 5 days a week. Saturday and Sunday is a well-deserved weekend, but don't expect it to be a really good weekend. CELTA-free weekend. It can be a really good weekend, but not CELTA-free, because usually at the weekend, people prepare for their lessons for the next week, do their written assignments, and some research, some reading, so your weekends are going to be busy too, unfortunately. There is no homework as homework, okay? But your homework is continuous. Your homework is to write your lesson plan. Your homework is to write your assignment. Your homework is to read something for your assignment. So yes and no to this question, Natalia, about homework. I would say you have to do a lot at home, let's say, okay? Back to part-time CELTA. It lasts 10 weeks, but it's not 5 days a week. It's 2 days a week. For example, it can be Tuesday and Thursday. Tuesday and Thursday are full days, okay? But the other days, you don't have to come to the center. It can be combined with other commitments. You can have Tuesday and Thursday on the CELTA, and other days continuing working, I don't know, giving lessons, whatever. And the feedback on lessons is immediate, which makes a day quite long. Remember, we have teaching practice in the evening, so you have to stay to receive your feedback. And the question, which one is better? What do you think? Which one is better? Full-time or part-time? What do you think? Full-time? Depends. Full-time for me? Depends. Yes, I think it depends. It depends because there are pros and cons for both modes. For example, a full-time CELTA helps you to concentrate, to focus only on the CELTA, nothing else. When you're doing it part-time, however, you have more time to process the information. Okay. Yes, it depends on your schedule, of course, if you want to continue working or if it is a financial burden to just be off work for a month, then you would probably choose part-time CELTA. Okay. But there is no definite answer here. People choose what they like. Assessment. Look, people are very happy. They probably know the answer to this question. Is there a CELTA exam? What do you think? Yes or no? Somebody says yes, no, yes, no. Okay. Let's see the answer. The answer is no. There is no exam. It's not an exam-based course. The assessment is continuous. That means every single lesson and every single assignment is assessed, and this assessment contributes to your final grade. Who assesses your lessons and written assignments? Mostly your tutors. So there is no final examination, but throughout the course, your tutors assess your lessons. And you don't have to perform excellently every single lesson in order to get an excellent mark at the end. So you can actually have ups and downs on the course, which is absolutely possible. And then there is also external moderation of the course. Every CELTA course has a day when the assessor comes. The assessor is an independent person. They come to see whether the course meets the Cambridge standards. Teaching practice and written assignments, both of them are assessed. And the final grades are pass A, pass B, pass or fail. Okay. A couple of questions here. Where can you work upon completion of the course? I think maybe you were a bit late, Daria. I talked about it at the beginning. Usually it's language centers or English language schools, foreign language schools, but also in some other organizations, and sometimes state school teachers do the CELTA as their professional development. With CELTA certificate, can you be a trainer of CELTA? No. Not immediately, okay? To become a CELTA trainer, you need to do Delta, which is the next step. It's a diploma, okay? And after that, you need to do the training course, to be a trainer in training, shadowing the CELTA course, and being trained up further on the CELTA course, okay? So you can't be a CELTA trainer immediately, no. So these are the final grades. Somebody asked me earlier whether it's possible to fail. You can see there is a grade fail at the bottom. To be honest, the fail rate is very, very low. Seriously, it's kind of 5% maximum around the world. For different reasons, because first of all, we have a selection procedure, and we don't accept people who potentially can fail the course. We're not interested in that at all. We're not interested in putting the person in such a stressful situation. Why? And of course, if we see that, for example, the level of English of this person is not to standard, we just don't accept these people. Of course, there is a possibility to fail, maybe poor time management, maybe some like misunderstanding or the lack of understanding of basic methodology, there are possibilities. Okay, and Pass A is the highest grade overall, so this is excellent, excellent. Again, the number of people who get Pass A is not very high around the world. It's probably again 5%, 7%. Most people get Pass. So a Pass is an absolutely valid grade. Okay. And finally, I want you to enjoy some testimonials from our CELTA trainees who graduated, who finished the course. And I highlighted some words which I particularly like in these testimonials. It revolutionizes your perception of ELT. A 1-month course seems to have given me much more than a 5-year course at the university. I hear it all the time from people who, with a pedagogical degree, with experience. If you want my personal testimonial, I did my CELTA many years ago, but I was also more or less experienced at that point, and it was a revolution for me. It changed my life. So I started teaching differently, and my career changed. Everything changed after CELTA. Another one, I would say that CELTA is a short trip on a fast ride. Obviously, this person who did an intensive program. It's very intensive, but very productive to learn quite a lot of things and put them into practice every second day. Okay, the course was amazing, inspiring, eye-opening. Trainer support was precious. Although I'd been teaching English for 8 years, I was surprised to see that there was still a lot more to learn. I can see a couple of questions. I'll be answering them as it goes. What is the age of CELTA trainees usually? Well, we have CELTA trainees in their 20s. We have CELTA trainees in their 30s, 40s. We've had a few CELTA trainees who were in their 50s and even 60s. The average, if you talk about our center, again it depends. In our center, the average, I would say, I don't know, 30, 35. That's the average, but I might be mistaken. I don't know. I've never thought of that. Can they change the form or conditions of CELTA like YEGE? I didn't quite understand this question, Irina. What do you mean, conditions of CELTA like YEGE? Like being YEGE as an entry requirement? If this is what you mean, I don't think so. I don't think YEGE is recognized by Cambridge, and YEGE is actually proving B2 level, which is far too low for the CELTA. Is CELTA price the same at all the centers? No, it's not, Yelena. It's not the same. You need to check how much the CELTA costs in different places. Okay. Oh, there's one more testimonial here. Okay. Yeah. And this is my favorite testimonial, one of my favorite. I told you that CELTA boosts creativity. And this is what one of our CELTA trainees composed after that. It was a poem. No sleep, no rest, lots of work, real stress, but then great fun, good job, well done, a lot of friends, champagne and dance. Okay, perhaps. Help and support, when, why, and what. CELTA's behind, but still on my mind. So, and you can see a group of our CELTA trainees and trainers wearing wonderful T-shirts that they designed themselves. Okay, right. Again, to remind you about our center, BKC, and we are an authorized Cambridge exam. A few more happy people. Do you have any more questions now? Because we are finishing our webinar in a couple of minutes. Thank you, Svetlana. Thank you, everybody else, for your thanks. It's always appreciated. These are our contacts for you, just if you want to write it down. Does it really matter where to take CELTA? No, it doesn't. It's the same qualification. It's standardized, as I said, and it should have the same standards throughout. But of course, centers are different, trainers are different, and CELTA programs are slightly different within the standards. Somebody asked about the price for the CELTA. What's the average price? Okay, I can't tell you in euros or dollars. I think our 2017-18 year's price was 95,000 rubles, approximately, something like that. It's an approximate number. Okay. What can you say about CELTA in England? I don't know. I've never run a CELTA in input in England. I think it's good. I think so. When are intensive courses in 2019? Vera, thank you very much for this question. We have intensive courses in September, and the next CELTA intensive course starts in a week. So you still have some time to apply for the course if you haven't done it yet, or if you're contemplating. There is time to apply this week and next week. The CELTA course starts in a week on Monday. The next intensive program is January 2019. And then 4 intensive programs, traditionally June, July, August, September. Part-time programs are October to December, and from the end of February to April. Yeah, these are part-time. Okay. Any more questions, dear participants? Okay, I can see. I think that's the end. Thank you very much.
Dear Olga, thank you so much for joining us today. It was really brilliant. Dear friends, as I told, you will get the recording of today's webinar, the presentation itself, and your electronic certificates to your email addresses soon after we finish today's webinar. Thank you so much to all of you. Good luck and have a nice day.
Thank you very much. Apply as soon as possible. It's the last question I could see in the chat. Apply as soon as possible. Bye-bye.